All right, let's get the show on the road. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for being here with us. We took a month off last month so Val and I could celebrate our birthday. And now we're back like better than ever. So thank you. But welcome to our interim hospice monthly CNE. If you want the CNE or CEU credit for this presentation, you must be on Zoom for at least 50 minutes and complete a short competency quiz, scoring 80% or better. We will send the quiz and evaluation by email to you later Friday. Make sure you have added the interim education at Gmail email to your contacts, and please check your spam folders. If you have not, it might be popping up there. For those of you in person today, you must sign in and out on our attendance sheet in order to receive your certificate. Don't worry, Val will tackle you if you try to get out of here before doing so. So I think we're good there. We will be recording this session and posting it on our interim healthcare Topeka YouTube page. You may view these again later if you wish, and due to the rapidly changing nature of healthcare and practice interventions, please consider all recordings out of date 1 year from the original recording. So next month, I want to shout out Cody Schneck will talk on nutrition and aging adults. So it'll be another great one for you to join in on. But without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker here with us today. We have Chris Watkins. Chris has always known he wanted to follow in his dad's footsteps in IT. His father was a network administrator, and Chris followed that path for as long as he could before being pulled into the cybersecurity field. His first cybersecurity job started at Stormont Bell in 2019, and ever since he's been hooked. After many years in the healthcare field, Chris decided it was time to join the even darker side, consulting. Since May of 2023, Chris had consulted for Norlum, bridging the gap for many different industries worldwide. In his spare time, if he gets any, Chris enjoys hanging out with his 3 dogs, Tank, Bella, and Ollie. He also loves going to Lake Perry to unwind. So without further ado, our speaker, Chris.
Hello. I am super new to this presentation field. I do consulting, but I typically do it with people through Zoom calls, Teams, you name it, where I'm not legally obligated to have my camera on. So it's easier to do when I'm behind a screen and not in front of a lovely crowd. Thank you for coming. And thank you to everyone on the Zoom side. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this or not, but there is an evaluation. I don't know if the Zoom side gets it, but the people in person get it. It pertains to me. Since this is my first time, don't go too hard on me. It's okay. It won't hurt my feelings if you don't want me back, but don't forget to fill that out. And if you guys are ready, we will get started. Just a quick mic check. Is everyone on Zoom good to go with the volume? Good? Awesome. All right, so emails to AI. We're going to cover a few different topics today, talking about how we're going to protect your patient information, and you and your organization as a whole in modern healthcare. We have 5 major topics we're going to talk about. I like to ramble sometimes. We'll get to points where I might have Val or Allie, snap their fingers or something to tell me to keep going. I might be going too fast, so if anybody needs me to slow down, I can just say it on the Zoom call or in person, raise your hand. If you have questions during this session, just ask Allie or Val via the Zoom chat. If you're in person, raise your hand, yell at me, whatever you got to do. We'll try to make it as back and forth as possible. And if everyone's ready, we'll get started. All right, so the first one is me. I have a background in cybersecurity with my CISSP. I obtained that a few years ago. I think it's still valid. We'll see. I also have a Master of Management Information Systems degree. I got that from Friends University down in Wichita. Did it all remote. It was great. While I was deployed overseas too. So if anyone's looking to get a master's degree remotely, they offer that, and it's great. And you can do it while you're deployed. A little bit more about me. I'm in the Kansas Air National Guard. I actually work on the KC-135s, and I'm in the QA department now, so I don't get to work on them directly, but I get to tell people they're doing it wrong. So I have a little bit of background in jack of all trades. Allie actually is one of my good friends. She's controlling the slides today. She calls me all the time and says, hey, can you come fix something? So I've learned to do a lot of stuff in a short amount of time thanks to her on top of the cybersecurity field. So I really appreciate that. One quick fact about me is I'm not a cosmetologist and I've never been to barber school. So this morning when I got ready for this presentation, I wanted to look good. I looked in the mirror and I saw that my eyebrows were kind of poking out a little bit. So I go, I can fix this, grabbed a razor, a trimmer, and just. So if you see me on the camera and in person with eyebrows looking very weird, that is because I'm not a cosmetologist, not a barber, none of that. And I really messed up this morning. So that's my fun fact for the day. Before we get started with all that, any questions about me or what we're about to talk about? Okay, we will get started. All right, these are our learning objectives. We're going to know the risks of using personal phone or tablets at work. This can pertain to all devices that are network connected that you bring from home that are not company-owned devices or issued from your company. We're going to talk about ChatGPT and other AI tools that you should not put information from patients, your organization into without explicit permissions. So don't do that. If it seems like AI, be very careful. You don't want to give any information to someone, something that's outside of your network or outside of your EHR, whatever you guys work with. The third one is we're going to look at email security and how to identify emails that could be phishing scams, if they could be attackers trying to get in and place ransomware, which is something we're going to talk about down here. We're going to talk about secure messaging and how to make sure you're not sending things unencrypted or in a way that would violate HIPAA law. And then, of course, the last one highlighted in red, of course, is talking about ransomware. Very nasty, targets hospitals and healthcare systems in general, because you guys are always busy. You're always go, go, go. And they're just waiting for you to make a mistake, hack into your system, and lock everything down and make you pay a lot of money. We're going to try to avoid that with talks like this. All right, we'll get started again. If anybody has any questions, raise your hand, yell at me, send a Zoom chat. We're going to start talking about the personal devices. Again, it just says phone and tablet, but if it is a network connected device, has Bluetooth or anything that could interface with a system that houses health or patient information, PHI, you want to be careful at work. Things that can go wrong, and this is with all phones, not just with personal devices. It can be with your work phone, anything. If it does not have a password, you could potentially lose that phone. That phone can end up in the hands of a bad guy that could use patient information on it. If you've sent texts, if they can access anything on it, and there's data that has PHI in it, they can get that if there's no password. Biometrics are a good way to lock that down, doing a thumbprint or like a face recognition. Those are good ways to avoid that scenario. If you're taking pictures with your phone, that is something that the phone could automatically be backing up to your iCloud. If it's a Google phone, Google Photos. If you take a picture of some patient record or something that you shouldn't be taking pictures of on a personal device, it can be backed up immediately. If it is not something that is HIPAA compliant, which probably isn't just for your basic phones, you could be in trouble with HIPAA law. So don't do that. Personal texts and patient info, don't mix. If you are using your personal phone line, your phone number, and you're sending texts unencrypted, not good. When things travel across the World Wide Web, they are supposed to be encrypted, but some people don't realize that SMS still can be unencrypted back and forth, because sometimes if you're going from a Google phone or an Android phone, I'm sorry, to an Apple phone, there's sometimes issues where sending doesn't work because RCS doesn't work with whatever iPhone uses, and people hit the, go ahead and send it as SMS. That can be unencrypted, and that can be intercepted in the World Wide Web by anyone. So be very careful sending patient info via text. If it's not a supported messaging app or something that your company has issued, just be very careful, be mindful of what you're sending. Personal devices. Some people probably still have an iPhone 4 or 3GS. I can't remember how far back they go number-wise. But if you're not updating your device or it's no longer supported, you want to be very careful because they're not supported, they're not being updated. And so attackers use those old systems in your environment to get in. That can be personal devices, company devices, servers on your network, anything. So make sure all devices are updated. They have the latest antivirus software or any sort of software that's going to protect you from ransomware attacks, anything like that. So things you should do. If your device is something that you have to have at work and you have to use it for your job, most organizations, not all, will have an MDM solution, mobile device management. They will be able to bring it in and install an application on your phone, or there's so many different flavors of how this can work. They can install apps that you are in a container, so it doesn't interact with the rest of the systems on your phone or apps on your phone. So if you take a photo inside of this application container, it stays in there and prevents that leaking of going to Google Photos or the iCloud. It also does give them the ability, that's the other thing, if you're using a personal device and you allow them to, they can remotely wipe it. If they remotely wipe it, it's probably because you did something wrong or you've been let go or quit, whatever. Just know that potentially you could lose personal information if they do wipe it remotely. Any questions so far? I feel like I'm just rambling. Good. Anybody on the Zoom chat? Good. All right, so we talked about the password pins and fingerprints. Biometrics are, in my opinion, the best way to do it. Sorry if I tap on the lapel. Apologies for everyone at home. I always use biometrics. It's easiest and it's kind of hard to reproduce. So if you're using a password, make sure it's a lengthy password. Make sure it has different characters, special characters, numbers. Don't make it for this year, summer 2026. Very easy to guess, and someone will get into your, it could be email, it could be your Netflix, whatever you use that very low strength password for. So don't do that. You can use passphrases. The longer the better. It takes, if a system is doing a rainbow table or they're doing some sort of just spray and guess of passwords, if you have a long one that they're not going to guess, like Theo is the best dog ever, 1892, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Very long. You probably don't want that long, but that would be a good one. It would be really hard to guess. So we talked about the applications that your IT department can install, but you also want to make sure that if you use a personal device, you want to only use the apps that your employer has provided or approved. So if you're sending things via, again, what's WhatsApp? That's one of them. If you're sending messages via WhatsApp, if that's not been approved by your organization and somehow something gets leaked or somebody gets a hold of patient-related information, they can come back and go, we didn't approve that, you're in trouble. So everybody from top to bottom gets in trouble. If the phone is stolen, always report it to IT. I don't know, all of these organizations do it differently. If it's a personally owned device, absolutely, if it has any PHI on it, let your IT department know. If it's theirs that they own, they can do the quick process of wiping it remotely and life moves on. Somebody just got a bricked phone. Sucks for them. All right, any questions on personal usage of devices from home? Okay, easy peasy. All right, so AI tools. I'm not going to read a lot of this because it's just cool facts. And long story short, be careful with what you put into AI because where it gets stored is not in your control. And this is with all cloud computing. If you're putting something on the internet and it's not been approved by your organization, it's out there where they can do whatever they want with it. If you have an agreement, a BAA, which I did a lot of these at Stormont, we had to have these vendors bring in devices and say, hey, we want to put this on your network, or a doctor would say, hey, we bought this, put it on your network. You can't argue with doctors. They don't like that. We would have to find, sorry, we would have to find a way to make it work in the environment to secure it. But before we actually allowed that system to be in the environment, our legal team and compliance would have to have a BAA with that organization to make sure that if something does happen, if they have our data or your data and they get compromised, they have to be able to notify you. And if they don't notify you, they can get in trouble. There's certain timelines and lengths of when they have to actually let you know that something's been breached, but at least having that protects you from a legal perspective. There's so many tools out here, ChatGPT, Gemini, there's Copilot. I'm a big fan of Claude AI. I actually write programs with Claude AI. I just say, hey, I need to be able to do this, write me a program, and it does it. It's really cool. So I just don't use my customer information and say, hey, this customer who has these firewalls, who does this, they have a lot of money in the bank. I don't put any of that out there. For the healthcare side, definitely don't want to put anything PHI related, whether that be the patient's name, date of birth, you name it. If it's potentially considered PHI, don't put it in there. You can use it if your company allows. You can use AI to generically ask questions like, guy has a broken bone coming out of his arm. What do I do? I hope you don't have to ask ChatGPT to do that. But if you do, you didn't say anything that is pertaining to that specific patient. So you should be safe. But always double check with your organization, make sure it's safe and approved. So the far right piece here, the organization, if they do approve AI, make sure you're only using that AI and make sure you're de-identifying all the details that go into it. Again, if you just say, hey, I know somebody that broke their arm, their bone's sticking out, what do I do? That doesn't have any of the patient's information, doesn't tell them, where they live, what ailments they have, MRNs. Um, yeah, I can go into so much detail with AI, but it just gets sticky after a while because we can go down the rabbit hole all day. Um, any questions on AI? It's very brief, I know, but nothing good because we could get stuck on here all day. The big one, email safety. There's a lot of breaches that happen via email because you're busy. You're constantly on the go. Your literal job is to take care of people. If they are distracting you and you are also trying to get stuff done while you're checking email, it's going to happen. You're going to click a link. There are many things you can do to prevent yourself from getting caught with some of the phishing, the simulated phishing from your organization. Some companies use KnowBe4. That's I believe, a product now of some other organization. But back in my Stormont days, we used to use KnowBe4, and if a user would click one of our simulated phishing emails, I would have to sit with them for a whole hour, each individual person, for a whole hour, and talk about why you shouldn't click bad emails, what you should do to not do that. That was the most boring part of my job, and I know they still do it, so I feel for them. So if they're watching this or they watch it in the future, I'm sorry. So the next slide is going to contain an email that we're going to look at, but some things you can do is look at the sender. If it says, we're going to use interim health as an example, if it says interimhealth@gmail.com, and that's not something you're used to, you see it coming from an actual domain like interimhealth@interimhealth.com. I don't know what your guys' domain is, but if it does not match to what you're used to, that's one red flag. If the email contains links, emails contain links, it happens. But if you're not used to getting links in the email from Interim Health, then you don't want to click them immediately. You want to look and see what they're taking you to. And just because it says, I'm taking you to yahoo.com, if you actually hover over it, down at the bottom of the emails, typically, you don't see it on here, but down at the bottom of the email, it'll actually show you the underlying hyperlink. And that's where it's actually going to take you. So not to say I'm cheating for the people at Stormont, but if you get an email that looks weird, just hover over that link. And then at the bottom, you'll see it says KnowBe4. You won't have to do an hour-long training. I could probably get in trouble for that, but it's fine. Other things to look at, I mean, we talked about the sending of messages. Don't be sending patient information to the wrong person. Always double check. Don't send it to Chris Watkins. I don't need to know anything going on in your world. Unless you're sending a nastygram about this presentation, that's fine. I will take the feedback. But if you accidentally send something to someone that is not the intended recipient, make sure you tell your IT department, make sure you tell whoever, start the chain of command, go to your supervisor, make sure all that's documented just in case. That way everybody knows. So we were talking about how the email can be pretending to be someone in your organization. Whoa, I am talking too long, apparently. Sorry about that. So scammers pretending to be your manager, pretending to be anyone in your organization. Your domain can be hijacked. There's so many different things that can go wrong in an email. At the end of the day, if someone really needs to contact you about something, they will get a hold of you in one way or another. Don't ignore all the emails. Some people do. Some people just hit the read all and move on. That's totally fine. But don't say Chris told you to do that because you'll get in trouble. I'll get in trouble. But luckily, I'm not going to get fired for that. Some things to remember about when you're sending HIPAA via email. Encryption is required. Remember, there is encryption at rest and in transit. So when it's sitting stored wherever on your network, email server, out in the cloud, you want to make sure that it's an encrypted file. And anything in transit, you want to make sure it's encrypted as well. That just makes sure that when it's transiting the World Wide Web, that is scary and anything could happen. It's jumbled. It doesn't make sense to the person who could be a man in the middle. It'll make it to the next side. It'll be decrypted so that person can read it. You don't have to worry about anything after that. Keep a record. That's more on your IT department. They typically keep emails back and forth, no matter if it's containing patient information or not, they will hold on to that. So that's not one necessarily for you to worry about unless you're concerned with XYZ. Whole different story. Sending emails only to people, again, that are the intended recipients. You want to make sure that people aren't also shoulder surfing where they stand behind you and they're looking over your shoulder, reading whatever email you have. If it's something that somebody is on a need to know basis, make sure people aren't just surfing behind you, watching you do your job. The patient requests, typically, I know there's departments where I believe it was called like HIMSS at Stormont. They would actually handle things like that where they'd interface with the patients to get the documentation sent to them. If they ever ask you to send it unencrypted, don't do it. It breaks HIPAA law and you can get in trouble for that. The organization can get in trouble for it. And then people like me who work on the email systems have to go back and give you an hour-long presentation that takes way too long and honestly could have been an email. All right, that was a lot about emails. We're going to go to the next slide to talk about the example email, and I'm going to ask a couple questions of the people in the room. And if you're online, go ahead and ask the or answer the questions too. And Allie will just pretend she's you. So, any questions before we jump to that? Okay.
Would I be okay to enter a short, need identified prompt to have an AI write a sales note or something?
Organizations that don't have policies are scary. And this is not legal advice. There is no legal advice here. Anything I say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Just kidding. However, always for situations like that, always ask up the chain, supervisor directly, see if, if they approve it, cool. You no longer have to worry about it. That's out of your hands. I always ask people, if you want to accept that risk, you can do it. So if you were to use that and you didn't get permission, you would be in trouble. The organization would still be in trouble too, because they should be preventing it, or at least have a policy. But at the minimum, start that chain of command, look up, ask your supervisor, say, can I use this to do this? It has no patient information. And if they approve it, I say go for it. However, it's going to change from organization to organization. So just make sure you ask and make sure you get it in writing too. That's another big thing. If you get on a phone call and your boss says, yeah, go for it, you have no proof. Your boss could have literally been asking you how the weather is wherever you're at. So everything that you get permission for, I recommend, and again, not legal advice, I recommend getting it in writing to be safe, to cover you and to cover the business as a whole. Great question. I like that. Any follow-ups to that though?
Yes. In terms of like, if you're in a generic information, would you still need to get that permission?
Generic information?
Generic, but into use in terms of where you're working.
Are you using a personal device or are you using a company-owned device? If you're using the company device, always ask permission. It's better to ask for permission. I don't remember what the saying is, but ask for permission when you're using company devices. If it's a personal device and you're not using patient information, and it's a generic question like the whole broken bone thing, I don't see why you couldn't. If you have no PHI and you want to take that, again, it's risk appetite. If you want to take that risk, you go for it. Great question. Any others? Anybody in the room? Cool. This is an example of an email that looks very suspicious. Try not to read everything on that right side because that's the answers. I wanted to separate it, but it's not worth it. But anyway, so we're going to look at some things in this email that are really weird and where they should throw red flags. I'm a big believer of the 3 strikes, you're out. 3 red flags, you're out, even less sometimes too. Always at the end of the day, if you don't feel comfortable, just either delete it. If you guys have a phishing button, I know Stormont does, shout out. So if you were to see an email like this, hit that button. That's the phishing alert button. It actually will delete the email. It will forward it to your IT department. They can review it. If it's a real attack, They will, come back and say, awesome, good for you. Did you click anything? We'll double check everything. If it's one of the fake ones, the simulated, it's going to give you a, hey, you did a good job. Congratulations. You don't get a sticker. You don't get any candy, but you do get a nice little message that says good job. So in this email, I'm going to ask the people in the room, and if you're online and can see it, some things, again, don't look at the cheat sheet. What would you say in this email would be a red flag? Anywhere, doesn't matter, top to bottom, not this part, but anything from to the number.
Stamp at mortalfederal.org, but this is from a .com.
Good catch.
.net at the bottom, too, so there's 3 separate.
That was quick too. She was ready. I like that.
My watch.
Proud. Yes. Anytime you get an email that says urgent, it's 99.9% of the time it's going to be fake. Very, very good catch. That's what they try to do, is they try to make you think that if you don't do this now, you are going to get in trouble. Especially if something comes from your organization saying you need to complete this training. That's a big one that they'll try to get you with the simulated, is they'll say you need to complete this HR training or this IT training by the end of whatever date. Ask your boss, supervisor, whoever you possibly can to make sure it's legitimately from IT. That's the other thing. Don't be afraid to ask. The IT department, at least the ones I've worked in, we would rather answer the questions up front than clean up the messes later on. Absolutely. It's 5 minutes versus hours. We don't like staying up late, but we stay up late a lot. So yes, good catch. And also they talk about things expiring. And also, if you don't use a VPN, I know a lot of organizations do, but if your laptops that you're issued don't have a VPN, you only use it while you're at work, you should have a VPN, by the way. If not, it's okay. If you don't use the VPN, why would you worry about your credentials? Things to look at like that too. Not everybody uses the VPN. Some people are just in person. They just go to the one computer, or I think they changed the name to Workstation on Wheels, the WOW. You don't need a VPN at that point. So could be fake, could be real. Again, check with your IT department, check with your boss. Also look at the fact that it's sent to all staff. Everybody is getting this. It's very generic. It doesn't say, hey, Chris Watkins, your VPN credentials are bad. The generic gets a lot of people too. They think it's just directly at them, but if they read between the lines, it is just really generic, so that way you don't think it's going out to everybody. You're not the only one, so you should just join in. The other one, does anybody see any others online? Okay. Yep. So another big one, it's number 3. So the .ru, perfect. So if you look at the end, you were talking about the .com, the .org, the .net. You also got country codes. So RU is actually Russia. If you look it up, it's different for different vendors, but RU is Russia. So if it's going to send you to Russia, you probably shouldn't do it. Your IT department should be blocking Russia, by the way. If they're not, do that. In and out. That's another thing, is traffic in and out should be blocked from countries that we deem are not, from a cybersecurity perspective, not knocking on any countries, cybersecurity perspective, are a danger because they don't have the same rules and regulations that we have to follow. And that's another thing, is if you send data or if they exfiltrate data out to a different country, you are no longer playing by US law. You are playing by that country's law. So some countries play ball, some countries don't. So let's just keep everything in the US from a data perspective if possible. And you already caught that? Yeah, I think you caught everything. That's good work. So what would you do in this scenario if you saw this email come through? Respond, click the link. Okay. Word phishing, perfect. Yeah, and if you have a specific, like KnowBe4 has that built-in button, definitely want to hit that button. It'll delete it, get rid of it.
Anything?
So here's, yeah, that's a good question. So forwarding it doesn't open anything, but if it's one of those phishing, and this is another hint to everybody that has KnowBe4, If you forward it to anybody and somebody clicks that link, if it's a simulated phishing, so it's fake, and they're just trying to get you for funsies, if you click that link on behalf of somebody else, that number in that link is dedicated to you. So if you send it to your boss and your boss goes, huh, you now have to sit through an hour of training. You do, yeah, yeah, there you go.
Back my face.
Hey, again, we'd rather see it, we tell you, hey, no, it's okay, it's fine, let it through. Yes. Yes, I would contact IT first. I wouldn't necessarily forward it immediately because you don't want them to accidentally click it if it is a simulated phishing or if it's real, because IT people are also not perfect in the email world. I have clicked things that I shouldn't have clicked. Taking a screenshot, yes, that is good. You can do that. And to send that image directly to whoever, that way there's no links to click. I like that. That is a good option as well. Be careful taking pictures with like your personal phone. If you do a screenshot through the computer, perfect. If you're taking pictures with your phone, if you catch PHI, we're gonna be in trouble. Yeah. Like you're clicking the link or you're clicking the button to send it. If it's a simulated one, you get the thumbs up and then it should delete. Every system is different for some reason. We could all probably do one thing, but everyone wants to have their own flavor. If it's the simulated, you're going to get that thumbs up that says you're doing great. You get nothing from it, but you're doing great. Yeah, a virtual pat on the back. So the real ones, it will delete them. And then they might put it into, depending on your organization, they could put it into your personal deleted folder. It still is accessible. That's where it gets dangerous, and it depends on how secure you want to be. I'm the type where if you think it's really bad, let's just get rid of it. There's going to be a copy somewhere. We don't have to worry about that, but get it off your system. Get it off where you can accidentally click it. So it depends is the answer to that. But from what I've seen, it deletes it. It actually goes to the IT department. It could be the server team, network team, security team, depending on how they do the different setups. So they'll review it, and if it's actually something that they deem as malicious, they'll actually go through the email system and see if anybody else got it. If anybody else got it and they haven't clicked it, we start ripping it out from the backside of everything. We start ripping everything out from everybody else. So the better thing to do is report it. If you think it's like legitimate, like scary, and you didn't get that thumbs up message and it's real, you might want to call and say, hey, I phished it, but just to give you a heads up, we do have this bad email that came through and it didn't give me the thumbs up and say I'm doing a great job. That will trigger a bunch of people probably to freak out and people just start running around. But the good news is they're going to get back into that system. They're going to look to see that exact email because we still have a copy of it. We will rip it out of everybody else's mailbox and then probably send a thank you to you. I would. Some people don't, but I just think, hey, you're kind of helping me with my job. And I don't have to come in later to undo some ransomware or something. Great question. Does that answer? Yeah. Anything online? Okay. These are great questions, by the way. Thank you, guys. It's making me, I know this is my first time and everything. It's making me feel a lot more comfortable. Probably sweating up here and my eyebrows aren't catching any of it. How we're doing on time? There's a clock. Never mind. We're doing pretty good. We're talking about the communication about patient information. So again, only use the things that are approved by your IT department. Make sure that if it's patient related, if you are asking again, even if it's an AI or not AI, you want to make sure if you're sending it unsecurely, it's generic, it's de-identified. Make sure everything's encrypted. That's just day one stuff. Applications, again, ask it if it qualifies. However, they should be telling you, is it approved or not? If it's not approved, don't use it. You can get in trouble. If you have to use it, talk to your supervisor. Go up the chain. They can approve it, not approve it. They can take it up the chain further. At that point, out of your hands, you don't have to worry about it. Like we've talked about with the email too, always make sure you're sending it to the right person. Allie doesn't need to know about my toe fungus. She might already, but she doesn't need to, especially if I'm talking to my doctor. Um, we're going to just move over to avoiding things. Again, the regular texting or SMS, unencrypted. If it gets back and forth, somebody catches it in the middle, they can take that information and do what they want with it. And they were able to see where it came from too. So even if they catch it and you think, it's fine, they'll never know who I am, they can trace everything back. Everything you do on the internet, everything you send is tracked, traced. Always pretend, there was a saying, uh, dance like nobody's watching, or no, dance like everybody's watching, something like that. Make sure you're sending like everybody's watching. Send it in a way that it's either encrypted, it doesn't make sense to them, especially again with passwords. Don't make it make sense. Summer 2026 is not a good password. Even if you add an exclamation point at the end, not good. Different applications, again, it's got to be approved. Definitely want to make sure that your organization is happy with what you're using and they deem it safe. And again, if something happens, it's on them, not on you. Group chats, very dangerous. I've been in a couple group chats where I've seen things I don't want to see or heard things I didn't, well, not heard, but read things that I didn't want to read. They were very mean things. Did they include Allie? Yes. Patient information from your personal email account. Do not use your personal email account. That's also going to tie into something else with emails in general, but if you have patient information in your personal email, if it is not approved by your organization and there is some sort of writing somewhere, get rid of it. Don't leave it there. If your account gets hacked, if your password of summer 2026 does not keep them from getting in, if you didn't enable multi-factor authentication like the biometrics or the PIN number, they will get a hold of it and they can use it against you, your organization. It could just cause a whole rift. With that being said, using your personal email for work things, opposite applies. Don't use your work email for Netflix. I don't know how many times I've had the simulated phishing send out a Netflix password change, and it goes to your work email. Why would you use your work email for Netflix? Some people say I don't have a personal email. It's free. Don't forget that. Also, people will get mad at me if I tell them they can't use their their work email for things like that. Most organizations are going to have a policy. I know some organizations, we talked about the AI thing. It's not new, but it's new enough that some people are behind the curve. So not a big deal. But for email, don't use your work email for personal things. What happens, and this is just for personal experience, what happens if you leave that organization or that organization leaves you? You no longer can get into your account. You can't call them and be like, hey, can I get access to my account for like 5 minutes? No, not happening. It will not happen. Storage on the internet, personal storage, Dropbox, Google, you name it. Kind of like the photos. Don't put any documentation, photos, anything in any sort of cloud storage that's not approved by your organization. And don't use your personal account. If you're going to sign up for it, your organization should be able to use single sign-on for whatever email address and password you set. If it's set up to do it that way, sometimes I know that it's not that way, but don't use anything personal unless it's been approved by your organization. If it's been approved and it doesn't seem safe, ask your supervisor, ask your IT department, because sometimes IT isn't aware of what's going on in your environment. We like to pretend like we know everything. We don't. We don't see everything. We don't sit there and watch you go to Facebook all day on your phone or on your laptop. We don't really care. Some do. I block it personally for most of my customers, unless you're in marketing, and then you can do whatever you want, apparently. So, long story short, be very careful with where you put your information, your patient information. It could get out there, somebody could get a hold of it, and then you're in trouble, your boss is in trouble, everybody's in trouble, and somebody's personal information is gone. Oh, you know what? Let me go back. Questions. I feel like, again, I'm rambling. The scary one, ransomware. So, if someone sends you an email, it has a link that's bad, you didn't catch it, you were just busy, you were taking care of someone, trying to eat your food at the same time, you're literally the anybody in healthcare, I swear, is the most multi-talented, multi-busy. I don't know how to describe it. You're literally doing 10 things at once. I get it. If you accidentally click it and you see this like red screen pop up with like the skull and bones kind of thing, you could be hit by ransomware. that could be locking you out of that machine. It could be that someone has now sent out command and control where it beacons out to a command and control server on the internet. Your IT department should be blocking it with next generation firewalls. Palo Alto is really good, by the way, not to put a plug in there, but they're great. I sell those if you need to purchase them. So if they don't catch that and they're not able to prevent that from happening, what could happen is they're starting a chain of events. They could get in and immediately, do that red screen, skull and crossbones, or if they're smart, your laptop doesn't have as much information as your EHR does, as your servers on the back end do. So the secret is to get in, be very, very quiet, get to the payload or the kingdom, and steal everything in the back end very quietly. That's how they get in. You'll accidentally click an email. You may not even notice something happened. They'll get in, they'll start to find their way through, they'll find the payload and go, all right, now it's time. And then everything just shuts down. And what they'll do is when it's a ransomware attack, they'll lock you out of the system and they'll ask you for money. They'll say it's encrypted. To decrypt it, you need a key. I have the key. Give me $500,000. It's expensive. So just a little tiny thing like that, where you click an email thinking it's just another day, another email, it could potentially lock you out and everybody you work with. And then you're the person that, not to be that guy, but you're the person that caused everybody to have to stop work. Sometimes that's a good thing. Probably not in healthcare though. So biggest things or systems that are interrupted by ransomware, people have to be turned away. So diversion happens. I know it already happens in Topeka quite often because all the Facebook pages say it and people are constantly complaining about it. But this would turn them away for reasons, not because they're full, it's because they can't get into their EHR systems or they can't get into anything that would allow them to verify that you're not going to have a reaction to whatever drug. So this could potentially be a situation where people could get hurt. Not to make it gruesome, people could die. We don't want that. We don't want them to get hurt. We want to make sure they get good service and they're happy and they don't sue you. Again, how they get in, they can get in by the email links. If you have compromised username and password, it's easy. Usernames are typically, and depending on your organization, for hospitals, it's like an E number or a P number. And then your username for like regular companies like me, we use first name dot last name. It's simple to guess the usernames. The passwords are harder. However, not everybody understands that summer 2026, and I'm just going to keep harping on that. Summer 2026 is not a password. Please don't use it. They can guess that. If you don't have multi-factor on, which is your PIN codes, sometimes it pops up. Their Duo is a good example, or Microsoft Authenticator. If you don't have those and they're able to just get in without having that multi-factor, it's not a good day. If you don't have multi-factor on a PHI system, which I think it's a rule, or not a rule, but a law that you have to, maybe not, absolutely talk to your IT department and ask them why you're not doing it, and if it should be. They may say stay in your lane, but at the end of the day, you're doing better for the patient. So I don't mind. Unpatched software on hospital computers. I know that's not you guys necessarily. If your IT department isn't updating their systems, that's not good. We should probably ask them why we're still running software from the 90s. Some hospitals do that. You guys on the internet side of things know what Windows 2008 R2 is. The date gives it away. That is the operating system from Windows for server that still operates in a lot of hospitals. Same with Windows XP, if anybody can remember back that far. Yeah. And it's a thing that people still run that in hospitals on production networks. We do our best. We try to set them out into a different network or isolate them so they can only talk to what they need to. Sometimes those things are in the corner, still connected. We don't know they're there, and they're just sitting there doing whatever they do. Sometimes the IT department doesn't know that. So back and forth with your IT department, not in a mean way, nice way, because we have feelings too. Just let us know. We'll take care of things like that. We'll see what we can do to help you get rid of that. Especially if it's something that goes really slow and you don't want anymore anyway. Some good examples. These are recent healthcare attacks. This one kind of hits home. I am a patient of certain places, and I get all those emails too that say, "Hey, we've been compromised. You may have lost some patient information. You know, your data might be out there." If you get things like that, those could also be scams. Emails from systems, they'll pretend they'll get ahead of the curve where certain organizations know they've been compromised. If a bad actor comes in and says, "Hey, I know they're going to start sending out emails saying, you know, if you need help or you need money or whatever, or whatever they offer," they'll get ahead and they'll send you an email and pretend they're them. You'll click it. So don't, if it's coming from you think a trusted source, no matter what, verify, because even systems that are healthy, protected, it looks like it's coming from the correct place, they could be compromised. There's a hospital down south that when I was in my Stormont days, they sent an email, I believe, from the CEO of the organization. I received it too for whatever reason. And so did many other people. The CEO was asking for gift cards. It was supposed to be to, I think, just the admin assistant, and they were asked to get gift cards, iTunes. Really weird why the CEO would want that. Luckily, we got a hold of it. I, for some reason, got it. Maybe just someone sent it to me on accident. I don't know. Got a hold of it. It was actually a system was compromised. Somebody took over that email account because there was not multi-factor, and they were sending emails out, hoping people will click the links. So it looks like it's legitimate. It's from a legitimate source. It's safe to double check the verbiage, make sure the links aren't sending you anywhere bad. All the different things that we've kind of talked about today. Make sure you're following the best practice. AI, kind of tying into this, AI is making things stupid easy for stupid people such as myself. That's terrible. I shouldn't say that about myself, but I did trim my eyebrows this morning, and I'm still embarrassed by that story. But AI can literally type an email perfectly. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but sometimes if you ask it, "Hey, send this email out with this link and somehow execute this code," whatever, all those things can be done with AI. And you don't have to know how to do it. AI does it for you. So be very careful when you're reading emails. You know, you're the first line of defense. Anytime we're talking about email security, you're the first line. You're the one that gets it first. We can see it and we can make decisions and fix things after the fact, after you get it. And when it comes in, we do the blocking. We do what's called block and tackle. But once it gets in, you're the first defense. If you don't read it and just click, it's not a good day. Any questions on ransomware? I know I kind of trailed in back into email a little bit. No? Okay. And so here's some numbers. They're not probably perfect. I just pulled them off the internet, and you can't always trust everything that's on the internet. So HHS did receive 508 breach reports. These are what are reported. There's different things saying what you have to report, who you have to report it to. I can't remember all those details because that was another me in another life. But the average cost is crazy. $7.42 million. That'd be so awesome if I had $7.42 million. But that's from each breach, because that takes all the patient information, and I can't remember, they put a dollar value on different records, and that's not just like Chris is worth $3. It's every single little piece is worth X amount of dollars. So it could be my birth date's worth $3, my address is worth $3. So the numbers come from individual, and I think it actually makes a point down here. Feel free to read these at any time off the slides later. It's just a lot of extra details on how healthcare was specifically targeted. And again, ransomware is the biggest way of attacking, or not attacking, I'm sorry, of taking down a hospital. You're targeted because you have patient information. They sometimes want money. Sometimes, I know with the state we're in currently, there are nation states that also try to just do attacks on the U.S. energy, healthcare, just to cripple us and bring us to our knees. So we can't provide that healthcare. People die. It's bad people doing bad things, not just for money reasons, but other countries want to do bad things to us, and we got to prevent that. So that's why we talk about stuff like this. All right. So the takeaways from all this. Your device, your responsibility. Don't use it in a bad way. If you're going to use it for work things, make sure it's approved by your IT department, your supervisor, everybody. Get get it all signed off. That way you don't get in trouble at the end of the day, and document that. AI, you can use it if your department approves it on company equipment. If you're using it personally, like we kind of talked about, do not put patient information into it. If it's something that they say don't use in general for anything related to your organization, don't do it. Super, super easy there. You can still use it. AI is great. Just be careful what you put into it. Email. Don't click links. That's the easiest way to put it. Don't click links unless you know that it is a safe link. After doing all the checks, making sure it's not going to send you to Russia. Only approved communication channels, kind of with email, kind of with the like messaging apps. Make sure it's something that's approved by your IT department, and make sure it's something they should have already vetted it, but make sure it's encrypted and you're not sending it in a way that could potentially have PHI intercepted, whether that be where it lands or in transit. It all kind of ties together, and I love this part. One click can shut down a hospital is a huge statement, because email is the biggest topic here, and that's where most breaches start from. I think it was like 36%. That's one of the biggest ways that bad actors get into your environment. If you click something and, again, ransomware gets installed on your machine, or it gets installed, or something gets installed and then migrates to other systems inside, it's going to be a bad time. So look at those links. Make sure you're not clicking things that are bad. And if all else fails, delete it, fish it. Even if IT gets mad, I'd rather be mad that you're being overprotective. That way I don't have to work at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. than all the different places where I got my information. All right. Not bad on timing, I don't think. We have questions?
AI is something that's more one. You have to put that in your form. So like, let's say for example, we want to use that, we want to start using AI. When we do our measurements, does AI have to be in the other compatible, that they're signing into stuff?
That your client or your client is.
Not something else. Or is that just like another app that people use? So then like we use Access, you know what I mean? Like we don't put that specific.
I'm a big fan of, like I said, going to your supervisor first. Definitely that is what I would do, is talk to your supervisor. But at the end of the day, that's legal. Because if something does happen and you're compromised, or that AI system's compromised, legal is the one that has to sign off that at the end of the day. So if you mess up, I mean, yes, that if you were to put something in there that you're not supposed to, but you were approved to use it, and something happened with your customer, not customer, your client or your patient, that's still going to be a legal battle, more so than a cleanup battle. We can clean up most things unless it's outside of our realm, if it's in another country, in another system that we don't have access to. But I think that would mostly go back to the legal in that scenario. I think you would have to. I would like to know as a customer or a patient. Yeah. Mhm. Right. So a good example is Microsoft has Copilot. Copilot's built in. I think most of the time you have to enable it, or your IT department has to say it's enabled or not. You're technically using AI at that point. So even if you're using AI and you accidentally put someone's information in, it's probably best to have legal say, if this happens, we are not whatever. And yeah, probably someone's going to have to sign off when they come in and say, yes, I agree to have my information put into AI.
So does that mean it's in that, it's all, if you were to use the AI in our Access, it's all encrypted into that? Does that make sense?
Is it like a system that you've purchased? Yes. So if it's something you've purchased, and it depends on what the IT department bought or whoever's managing it. Yeah. Yeah. So if it's something that you've purchased and you have that BAA, the business agreement, if that's all in there, by the way, BAA should be updated. I don't remember what our timeline was at previous places, but yes, if you have access to it, your IT department's approved it, then you're good. And yes, if it's been approved. Now, Some places have to opt in for things like that. So if it's there, more than likely someone's opted into it. But to be safe, to do a CYA, supervisor, IT department, send them an email, get a response, just to make sure you don't get in trouble for something that, even if you were doing it just because you didn't know, I'd hate to see anyone get in trouble for that. When in doubt, make it somebody else's problem. It's terrible, terrible advice, and it does slow things down a lot, especially if that's something you need to use for your job. Okay. I feel like one of those YouTubers, hit like and subscribe. And don't forget, fill out the evaluation.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap up for today. Okay. Want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us this afternoon. Please, I just want to plug, make sure you're on the lookout for the evaluation coming from the interameducation@gmail email. And then I also want to plug our next week, or next month, presenter will be Cody Snack, again, speaking on nutrition and aging health. But you want to give Chris a round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank